Hi Hearties, it's Chelah Horsdal coming to you from my home in Vancouver. I play Cat Montgomery on the show, and I have been asked by the very official Canadian Hearties to do a little Q&A for you in celebration of the fact that When Calls the Heart is now airing on CBC. I hope you're watching it. I hope you're loving it. We sure as heck loved making it. So here goes. Let's check out these questions. Questions for When Calls the Heart cast interviews. When did you first know you wanted to become an actor? I dabbled in acting in high school, and when I finished, there was a burgeoning industry in Vancouver, and it seemed at the time as though we had more jobs and more demand than there were actors. So at the time, I was modeling, and I was at this agency where a casting director had come and asked some models to come and audition for this role. And as it turned out, I had a bit of training from theater company in high school. So I booked that as my first role. And I think that really lit the fire for me. I knew deep down that I wanted to be an actor at that point, but it also seemed obvious, and it seemed kind of embarrassing, to be honest, because everyone would say, "Oh, I'm an actor," but they weren't necessarily acting, so or that's the way that I perceived it at that age. So then I went and did everything else for 10 years and didn't come back to it until, I guess it was about November of 2001, somewhere in there, and I made the decision to commit with a vengeance to this career and have never looked back. It was the last time I had a job besides acting, and I'm very grateful for that. What was my favorite show growing up and why? My favorite show growing up was V. I was allowed 1 hour of television a week. I picked V, and mostly it was because of Diana eating those rats from above. I was fascinated by the magic of that. I didn't know how they did it. I loved it. What hobbies and interests do you have outside of acting? Interesting phrasing for that question. It implies that acting is a hobby. It's not. It's a career. And my interests and activities extend far beyond acting. It's one very small part of my life. One part that I love and I treasure, but one part, and I keep that in perspective by having extraordinary friends. It's an embarrassment of riches, the friendships that I've cultivated over the years. I mean, in the last 31 days of living in this new house, I've had 11 dinner parties. So if that's any indication, things are going okay. And my family, of course, have also been 4 of those dinner parties. They're very important to me. My dog, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows, my dog is the light of my life. I paint, I write, I photograph, I hike, I meditate. What drew you to audition for When Calls the Heart? A couple of years ago, the year that When Calls the Heart crossed my bow, I had made a decision a few months prior to that I wanted to begin to play characters that were fully fleshed out in the, how do I put this? Because it's my job to fully flesh out a character. But there's a big difference between showing up and playing someone who is written and needs to be just the mom, just the wife, just the girlfriend, in order to support the male narrative, and in order to support a protagonist that is more often than not a man. Which isn't to say that we don't need stories that are told about men. That's not the implication. But it was really important to me to begin to choose roles that passed the Bechdel test and would portray women of all sorts. Strong, weak, financially secure, struggling, complicated, flawed, loving, unapologetic, or really apologetic. I just wanted to start to draw characters into my world that were a little bit more of a clear reflection of who women are in the world. And a few months before When Calls the Heart, I had started on a show called Hell on Wheels, playing a character, Maggie Palmer, who fit the bill to the T. She's a broad, that one. And I had just come off of shooting that show when the audition for When Calls the Heart came along, and Kat Montgomery seemed like the same kind of woman as Maggie Palmer in very different circumstances, but still a fighter, and still incredibly loyal and incredibly strong and complicated and flawed. So yeah, that's what drew me to it. And then I got it. Woo! What do you love about your character on When Calls the Heart, and how would you like to see your character develop? Well, I think I just answered half of that. In terms of how I'd like to see her develop, I'd like to see her come back. She vanished at the end of season 1. No one really knows why. So now that we are ecstatic to hear that When Calls the Heart's been picked up for season 3, which is very much because of the tweeting and the support from Hearties to Hallmark, I would love to see Kat Montgomery come back and see where her story goes and where she's been. I figure there must be a story as to why she just vanished, and I would like to know what that story is in the narrative of the show. If you could choose to play any character on When Calls the Heart, who would it be and why? Kat Montgomery. What is your favorite When Calls the Heart scene or moment? Early in season 2, I think, or I'm sorry, season 1, I think it was episode 2, when all the women decide that they're going to show up at the mine. I love that scene. And I love the dancing scene. We had a one where we were all dancing, and what you may not know is that we decided to do a flash mob for the director and for the crew. So we were in cahoots with the sound department, who, instead of playing the regular playback music that was very traditional, they put on some like crazy dance music, and we all just went off, and all you could hear was Ann Wheeler, who directed the episode, laughing hysterically in the tent with the monitors. It was pretty great. That was really fun. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun making this show. What about When Calls the Heart inspires you? My experience was just working with that cast and crew. I know a lot of people say that, but something kind of magical can happen every now and then on a show. It doesn't happen on every show, but every now and then you get a group of people come together who really care about one another, and I felt that. I felt that we really cared about each other, and that goes for every department and the cast. That ensemble cast, in particular the women that we had for the first half of season 1, and many of whom carried on in the storytelling, but there was something really profound about that ensemble feeling and that bond that was carried. It was really beautiful, and it's not something that I've experienced with a group of women like that, but for once before. That was really rad. All right, now there's a whole section. How Canadian are you? Just for fun. Okay, here we go. I'm pretty Canadian, just saying. Where is your favorite place in Canada? Well, first of all, favorite is spelt wrong. So, just so you know, in Canada, we put a U in favorite where it's supposed to be. So that's how Canadian I am. My favorite place in Canada is my hometown, Vancouver. Best city in the world. Who is... It's my words with friends going, sorry. Who is your favorite famous Canadian? Well, that's my dad, Valdy. He's a folk singer, was named to the Order of Canada a few years ago, and he is my hero. I love him. Napkin or serviette? Napkin. I don't know what that means. Mr. Dress-Up or the Friendly Giant? Mr. Dress-Up, except for the furniture on the Friendly Giant. When I was little, I really loved all the little tiny furniture, but Mr. Dress-Up was the bee's knees. Nanaimo bar or butter tart? Neither. Sugar. Moose or beaver? How do you pick between a moose and a beaver? I mean, I don't want to be racist against one of them. Ketchup, chips, or poutine? Poutine. Ketchup, chips, not as great as people say. Coffee crisp or Arrow? Again, sugar. Sugar's for suckers. Hockey or curling? Hockey, duh. duct tape or zipper? I don't think I understand that question, but for the record, it's not duct tape, it's gaffer's tape. As the child of a musician, I can state that with some authority. It's one of the many reasons my dog's name is Gaffer. And yeah, I don't get that question. Duct tape or zipper? Do I have to pick one? That's weird. That's weird. And then it says, in addition, please give a short personal message to the fans of When Calls the Heart, aka the Hearties. Listen, Hearties, honest to goodness, I have been overwhelmed with the amount of love and energy and notes and messages that I get from people who love this show. It's been more so than any other show I've ever worked on. It's humbling, and I am very grateful. It may not seem like it all the time because my Twitter narrative it probably doesn't fit the brand of Hallmark as much, but please know that I appreciate all of the messages and the love and the support. Yeah, I'm very grateful. So thank you. I hope you're loving When Calls the Heart Season 1 on CBC. I hope CBC continues to carry it year after year, and let's hear it for Kat, hopefully coming back in Season 3. Okay, thank you.